Okay, so I'm going to showcase some of the stuff I've done with a Kerbal space program. Today, I wanted to start out by showing a space station that I created. I launched this up in separate parts. I start off with this basic hub, which you can see has docking ports on both sides, front and back. Propulsion is back here, and all these in through here, these 3 pods are fuel. So this is a major refueling station. I wanted to make one of these and get it out to Minmus eventually to be refueled with my kethane refinery. This is a basic space tug. You never know when you'll need one of these to go grab something and bring it in for docking. Of course, I put lots of lights on it. This was my first major endeavor with Kerbal. It's not the fanciest thing that's out there. Many people have made things far fancier, but I'm very proud of it. It took a lot of work, especially docking all these monstrous hulks onto the main pivot points here. I added this on because I was thinking about testing some sort of tri-coupler attachment for something really big that could go to Eve or some other planet. So that's it on that. And here we have my kethane probe that I used to map out Minmus to find the kethane reserves that I could tap into. As usual, I probably overpowered it with solar panels, but with any autopiloted probe, I get nervous about running out of electricity. So I usually put on deployable panels, but I also put these ones on because you can wait for the orbit to bring it back around into the sunlight in case you run totally out of electricity. Let's see. As you can see, we have pretty much all of Minmus mapped out. I like the layout of this area for my refinery. So we'll switch down to it. I'll show that to you. Okay, so here's the refinery setup. This is set up for drilling, which I will show here. Basically, as these drill, they pump kethane into this tank, and then I can use this conversion to fill this tank up with liquid fuel oxidizer, monopropellant, or xenon gas, depending on what I have a need for. I used Kerbal attachment system to attach this to these tanks, which I landed these separately, or this group of tanks separately. It took a lot of Delta V to get this launched and landed, but luckily I've got free fuel here. To fill it back up with. If I can just get this other drill to retract. There we go. And of course, I needed someone to to connect all this stuff. Kind of a gas station attendant, so I brought a manned lander out that has room for monopropellant storage. I built some little space hopper bikes that I was testing around here, but I haven't left any near the station yet. So there's that. And here we have my placeholder probe. I planted this out here next to the Space Center to be used as a time acceleration device for interplanetary transfers. Basically, I think it's fixed now with being able to speed up time from the Space Center view. But this allows, if I have a orbiting ship that I'm going to send to Eve or some other planet, it's best to send those orbiting ships off to other planets for the transfer from a low orbit. But when you're at a low orbit, it won't let you time accelerate past a certain point. But by switching to this, you can still have the same frame of reference for your launch, pretty much, for aligning trajectories for planets, interplanetary transfers. But this allows you to speed the time up. I learned this from watching Scott Manley videos. Of course, pretty much everything I've learned from watching his videos. So if you haven't checked him out, you definitely need to. He is pretty much the Kerbal guru on the net, in my opinion. Anyway. Okay, and here we see my Eve probe that I sent out to gather science to build my tech tree. As you can see, I have the big solar panels, small deployable ones. I have every scientific gadget I could put on here. I put multiple ones on, including Science Juniors, so that way I could get as much science as possible. Problem is, once you land something this size on Eve, or anything on Eve, it gets very hard to jump around to different areas. So, anyway, let me light this up a little bit. Doesn't have much, but it is something. And of course you can see I did wide stances with my landing probes. I've tried to get the stance as wide as I can with these things, because nothing sucks worse than getting to a planet, tipping over, and losing your ability to skip around and gather science, or breaking your antenna off and not being able to communicate your science back. Especially going all the way to a planet. It's not that bad if it's the moon or Minmus, but getting to Eve was a big deal for me. I also have a rover on Eve. Let me show that to you. This is my rover, which of course I put lots of science equipment on it, as well as these flat redundant solar panels to make sure it does not run out of electricity, because once a probe runs out of electricity, you're totally screwed. But this is up around the poles. Haven't done too much with it, but this is a good design. I was able to land it with a parachute, of course. It's a lot easier to use parachutes and to design things to detach and land by them under their own power. But I do have some of that I have developed that I'll probably use in future playthroughs. And of course, this is my Duna probe, just to prove that I actually did make it here. It is a very pretty view. And this is identical. I do have a rover exactly like the Eve one that I landed on here too, to just get as much science as I could. I really had to grind hard to get the science I needed to do what I needed to do. This is about all that I have on this playthrough. I'm probably going to start a story-based playthrough in the future to kind of make things more interesting, but I wanted to document this stuff before it got too late. So anyway, thanks for watching, and check out more videos as they come in.